Welcome, traveler. This is Moira. Today, I bring you Camila's disturbing account about a favor she accepted and something she brought home without perceiving the risk. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and like the content to ensure more stories in the future. My name is Camila. When I close my eyes and think of my friend Iris, I try to remember her laughing at the bus stop after an event gig, feet aching, the two of us sharing a pastel. That's how I'd like to keep it. But I can't. What remains isn't funny at all. Iris and I met working as receptionists at trade fairs. It was tough, but we had each other's backs. Iris was direct, practical, a bit cold when she had to be. She knew how to get things done. There was a time she started hanging around with the wellness crowd, you know? Talks, retreats, those things that promise quiet in your head and peace in your soul. I thought it was kind of a fad, but she swore she was sleeping better, that the anxiety attacks had stopped. Guided breathing, she said. There's a right way to listen to your own body. That's when this so-called Dr. Helena Viotti showed up. She wasn't a hospital doctor. She sold herself as a researcher of states of consciousness. She spoke softly, with a calm gaze that unsettled you. In a few months, Iris became her shadow. Schedules, calls, trips, and suddenly my friend was living in a nicer apartment in a neighborhood I'd only visit with an invitation. It's a partnership, Camila, she explained. I tried to believe it. The first time I went there, the silence struck me. Not silence from a lack of noise, a silence that felt heavy, like when you step into a recording studio and the sound dies against the wall. In the middle of the room, there was a white capsule, the size of a bathtub, a sensory flotation chamber, according to Iris. I stay in there listening to Helena's audios. No light, no noise, my head slows down, she said, proud. Around it, diffusers were on, herbal scents, and a sound system with expensive headphones. I said, "Isn't this dangerous?" She laughed. What's dangerous is living without locking down your own mind. Little by little, the atmosphere changed. Visit after visit, I noticed the details. Black filters on the drains, tape covering appliance LEDs, earplugs left around the house as if any noise were the enemy. Dr. Helena sent long audio files, spaced out phrases, huge pauses, whispers. Ears listened at full volume and then went quiet, eyes wide open, as if waiting for me to say something I never knew what it was. One night, while I was getting water, I heard a sound coming from the guest room. Low, rhythmic, like someone sleeping, except the bed was made and the room was empty. When I got back to the living room, Iris was in front of the capsule, lid open, interior light off. She was holding two black earplugs. "Did you hear it?" I asked. She didn't answer. Helena says the sounds we don't process get stuck in the body. In here, they dissolve. It's like pulling out an invisible splinter. I laughed, nervous. And does that splinter breathe? From there, things went downhill. Iris started seeing people in her own apartment. Always exhausted women, crying softly, clutching their bags against their chests. They left with breathing exercises and USB drives with therapeutic audios recorded by Helena. At first I thought it was just placebo, but a client tugged at me in the hallway and whispered, "Her voice gets into everything. Even when I turn it off, I keep hearing it." She wasn't the only one. The capsule came with rules that Iris repeated like a prayer. Do not open the lid if the light is on. Do not speak loudly in the hallway. Do not call anyone by name while I'm in there. On the last visit before everything broke, I saw something pasted inside the lid, a printed sheet with the short text, "If the noise answers, do not answer back." I read it twice, not understanding why anyone would need that warning. Helena finally showed up one afternoon. No perfume, a plain gray sweatshirt, and even so the room felt smaller. She greeted me with a fingertip touch and looked at me like someone checking for a fever. "Camilla is your escape hatch," she said to Iris, without taking her eyes off me. "If you want the process to work, you need to close that hatch." I laughed, unsettled. Iris lowered her gaze. "Process of what?" I asked. "Of silencing what no longer serves," she replied, and left as if she'd always belonged to the house. After that, Iris disappeared for a few days. Messages read, no reply. When she picked up, her voice was hoarse, almost airless. "Don't worry, Kami. I'm on a quick retreat." Before hanging up, she let out a sentence that froze me. "If I don't come back, you know where to store what's left of me." I didn't know. I pretended I hadn't heard it. It wasn't a retreat. It was something else. Days later, a mutual acquaintance called me, voice dry. Iris was hospitalized. Heavy sedation. It went bad. The versions changed. Collapse, crisis, panic attack. No one owned up to anything. At the hospital, she barely opened her eyes. Her hand was cold, the black earplugs on the table next to the IV. Dr. Helena didn't show up. When Iris died, they called me to pick up minimal belongings. I was trembling in the building's lobby with a thin envelope and the apartment key. I went up. The place was too clean, as if someone had wiped life away with a damn cloth. The capsule, covered with a white tarp, looked like a sleeping animal. On the table, a USB drive labeled "Final Session." I didn't touch it. I needed to look at the guest room. I can't explain why. I walked in slowly. On the nightstand, a little battery-powered player, one of those simple ones that Edith used to test ambient noise. Its light blinked on its own. The display lit up with the number 01, and it hit play without me touching it. Helena's voice came out low, drawn out, like she was inside a pool. "If you are listening, the process has concluded. Avoid names. Avoid remembering. Avoid responding." Then silence. Except it wasn't silence. There was something behind the voice. I checked the door, the window, both closed. The device repeated the track. I was about to turn it off when behind the pauses came a sound that wasn't Helena's. It was the breathing I had heard weeks earlier, only closer, air moving in and out, patient, like something that doesn't tire. I turned it off. The sound continued for a second and stopped, like someone holding their own breath. I went to the living room, grabbed my bag, and decided I would return that key and never come back. That's when the capsule creaked, not loud, a tiny plastic lid giving by a millimeter. The tarp trembled very lightly, breathing on its own. I froze. The warning pasted inside the lid flashed in my head, whole, as if I were reading it. If the noise answers, do not answer back. I didn't answer. I walked out without making a sound, closed the door, and left the key with the doorman. He asked if everything was okay. I just nodded and left. I tried not to take anything, but I brought something anyway. A few days later, I woke in the middle of the night with a small weight in my ear, like airplane pressure. I reached for the bedside table and found a pair of black earplugs, same as Iris's, identical, with a little nick in the rubber I remembered mentioning to her. I don't know how they got into my room. I swear I didn't bring them. I threw them in the trash right away. In the morning, they were on my pillow. I went to the bathroom and turned on the shower just to make noise. The sound of the water calmed me until I noticed that beneath it there was that breathing again, a calm, insistent in and out. I turned off the shower. The sound stopped with it, as if it were following me. I grabbed my phone and played some random playlists at full volume. Pagode, funk, anything alive. I walked around the house with the music on, as if it were a light kept on through the night. It worked for a few hours. These days, I live with headphones around my neck, not to listen to music, to muffle. I sleep with the TV on, a loud fan, rain apps. I speak little on the phone, because when the other side goes quiet, it's like someone is breathing along, very close. And yes, I admit it. Sometimes I think about putting in the earplugs to get some rest. Just touch them to my ear for a minute and see if it helps. But I remember the capsule lid, recalling the simple rule Iris ignored. Do not answer. On the last dawn, the doorbell rang once, a dry ping. I looked through the peephole, and there was no one. I pressed my forehead to the door to listen to the hallway. No footsteps, no elevator, no neighbor, nothing. Only air going in and out, slowly, as if someone on the other side were waiting for me to say hello. I kept quiet until daylight. If you truly want silence, don't accept it from someone else. True silence doesn't come in a file or a capsule, or the voice of an elegant stranger claiming she knows what calms you. I lost my friend when she decided it was better to switch the world off than to learn to listen to what hurt. And in a twisted way, I lost my silence along with her. That was Camila's account. If you listened this far, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll meet you in the next Daily Nightmare.